Welcome to the Blitz Take episode number 15. I am here with Jacob Roach from Dawg Pound Daily, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say about the Cleveland Browns and how their preseason is doing. So welcome.
Hey man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate you having me on.
What were your initial thoughts on the first preseason game?
It definitely did not start out the way that I wanted it to. The offense looked a little clunky, and obviously with the situation with Deshaun Watson, I can understand why maybe some things didn't go the way maybe you thought it would with him out on the field for the first time in, I think it was 19 months. But overall, you didn't see a lot of starters on defense, but that defense came to play. I mean, that was pretty evident to me. I look back at Martin Emerson's pick six where he just kind of bullied the wide receiver, just like stole the football from him and then returned it. And I believe he stiff armed the quarterback, which I feel was a little unwarranted. I don't think he needed to do that. But all said and told, I thought that the rookies, the young guys that got opportunities to play, they really showed up. I thought there was on defense with the backups, everybody that got to play that were the younger guys, everybody really passed the first team offense. I thought showed some things that you would like to see early on, but it definitely made me feel, at least on the offensive side of the ball, that there's still quite a bit of work to do.
What were your thoughts on Dawson Dean's torn ACL?
That one's tough because of Nick Harris too, right? Like Nick Harris, we didn't get confirmation on what exactly the knee injury was for the starting center, Nick Harris. But today, when Dawson Deaton's ACL is announced, he goes to IR, and so does Nick Harris. So they did confirm that he is done for the year as well. So that puts you right now on the roster with Ethan Pocic, which I like Ethan Pocic. I'm not like crazy about him as your starting center, but I think in between two all-pro guards, I think he'll be okay, but you got him and an undrafted rookie on your roster at center. And so while I don't believe that the Deaton injury, some people kind of, I thought, overreacted like it was the sky is falling, because I think Deaton was still the team's third string center. I don't even think he was really the backup. I think it puts you in a situation where you got to look really hard at taking, a veteran center. A friend of mine, Jack Duffin, has suggested maybe Billy Price as bring him in. He's out there with the Giants last year. And as an Ohio State guy, I don't mind bringing more Ohio State guys onto the roster. So the Deaton injury wasn't like catastrophic to me, but it coming on the tail end of Nick Harris's, it definitely adds center as a position to where I have no idea what they're going to
do. So my next question is, what are your thoughts heading into the regular season?
The regular season for me, I love this roster from top to bottom. I always say on my show and when I write for the website that we talk about, it's so hard to really give overall thoughts because we don't understand the quarterback position. But we do know that definitively Watson will miss the first 6 games. So we know for sure that we're looking at least 6 games of Jacoby Brissett. And I look at this roster, if I am to take the quarterback position out of it, which I know you can't do because it's the most important position on the field, but if I look at just this roster, the way it's constructed, I think this is a top 12, top 10 roster. Outside of the quarterback position, I think that this is one of the best corner rooms in the NFL. I think their corners and safeties are pretty deep. I think they've got 5 corners that they like on this team, and if they have to play snaps, I think they feel comfortable with them. And I think obviously Clowney and Garrett, speak for themselves on the edge from the edge rusher position. But I feel like this should be a playoff team. I think that this team is good enough to either compete or just miss out on a playoff berth, regardless of who the quarterback is. I'm not optimistic. I know some Browns fans will tell you they're optimistic that Watson plays half of the season. I don't. I think that it's a minimum of 12 games just from everything I've heard. I have no inside information, so don't quote me on that. But, from what I've heard, I think you're looking at 12 games of potentially Jacoby Brissett. And I just remind fans that last year we had a plethora of injuries, right? And Baker
Yeah.
played. Baker played half a year with one arm, right? Like, and so that team won 8 games. I think Jacoby Brissett can be as good as what Baker was last year. And I think that the roster around him, I like Cooper better. I like Njoku being tight end 1 over Hooper. I think the roster around him is slightly better than what Baker had. So that leads me to believe, even with Jacoby Brissett for a majority of the season, that the team probably flirts around 9 or 10 wins.
So what are your thoughts on the rookies and how they are developing in training camp?
The rookies so far have, for a team that didn't even have a first or second round pick, I felt like the rookies have been pretty good. We in Cleveland talk about kicker purgatory is what we have been ever since Phil Dawson got traded to the 49ers. And there just hasn't been a kicker, but it's crazy that we get so pumped up for a rookie kicker. But Cade York, man, I believe the tally is he's missed 2 kicks in camp. And I get it. It's just camp. There's no rush. There's no weather. There's no any of this. But I can't tell you the last time a kicker went, because he went until like the second week of camp before he even missed a kick. And I watched him kick one that from 50, I think it was about 55, that would have been good from 65. And then in the preseason, he kicks one through the uprights on a kickoff. And I'm just like, I know I shouldn't be like, head over heels over a kicker, but like, I really feel like he's, we've got a kicker that I'm no longer like, oh my goodness, it's a 3-point game. There's no way we're going to, I really think that he brings this weird stability to a special teams unit that was awful last year. They were just straight up awful last year. And I think now he gives you the opportunity to be in those late games like we didn't have last year. And it's funny because I think there's a lot of talented rookies on this team, but if you talk to most Brown fans, they're going to start with the kicker. That's where they're going to start because I think that's really, really important. But outside of that, man, I think Martin Emerson, I mean, he ends up with a PFF graded in the 90s, and he was their first pick, the 65th overall pick. I'm sorry, not 65. He was in the third round, their third pick, and the first pick that they had made. And he was really not. I mean, he was this guy out of Mississippi State that had this length and this size. You were kind of like, I'm not sure why they took the corner at this spot. And then he starts bullying people in the preseason in Jacksonville. And I'm like, well, all right, this is why I'm not paid to draft people. But overall, I think you saw a 7th round rookie get 2 sacks in Isaiah Thomas, dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury right now. But, you saw a 7th round pick contribute. We've seen Jerome Ford had a heck of a game, their 5th round pick. He played really well, and he showed that the Browns have 4 running backs in that room that they like now. I mean, they have Chubb and Hunt and Dearness Johnson and Jerome Ford, all of which I think can make plays if you need them to. And that's just kind of an embarrassment of riches at the position. And, outside of that, a lot of the guys kind of dealing with some injuries and battling for playing time. But I mean, those 3 guys off the top, it makes a rookie class that maybe you thought wouldn't be too impactful because it started in the 3rd round. It kind of made it to where you're like, hey, maybe these guys are going to contribute more than we thought.
So what are your thoughts on the whole division?
That's where when you ask me about like playoffs, like we were talking about playoffs a little bit earlier, that's where it gets hard because I think it's going to be a dogfight in this division. Pittsburgh, I every year I think this is the year Pittsburgh falls off. This is the year, and every year it doesn't happen. So while I believe that I'm not crazy about any of the quarterbacks there in Pittsburgh, although I think Trubisky's better than some people give him credit for. They're the only team that like has a major question mark. I mean, the Browns do at quarterback as well because of the Watson situation, but I don't know about Pittsburgh's quarterback position, but Mike Tomlin's there, and as long as Tomlin's there and Cam Hayward's there and TJ Watt's there, they're going to be a good team. I think this team fields at least 2 playoff teams because I feel pretty good that Baltimore and Cincinnati will make the playoffs. I think Cincinnati has an opportunity to kind of take a step back just because they're going to be playing a first place schedule this year, where they weren't last year, but they got better. So at the same time, yeah, their schedule is going to be harder, but they're a better football team than they were. Baltimore's not going to have the injuries they had last year. So them being 8-9, I don't see it. They had probably the best draft of any team. The Browns have a great roster, but we don't know where the quarterback position is, which then makes you say, is it a great roster if we don't know what the quarterback position is? You go through all of that. That is going to be a really, really fun division to watch. I know when the Browns are not on, I'm going to be trying to catch the Bengals. I do live in Athens, Ohio, so I am from Joe Burrow country. So I do like I like Burrow when he's not playing the Browns, you know. So I do root for that. But I think, man, if your team's not playing, I think turn it on AFC North football. I think it's going to be a dogfight this year.
And my last question is, what kinds of things are you going to be looking for in the joint practice with the Eagles and the preseason game on Sunday?
I really like joint practices. I don't know how you are with the joint practices, just because I think we can get a little bit more out of the joint practices than we can from the preseason. I think we get a little bit more even than we can from the games, just because I know you see the same things that I do. When you got play calling in preseason, they are calling the most basic plays in the world because they don't want anybody to see anything, you know. I just want to see improvement. That is where I'm at all the way through the start of the year, right? You don't have to quite be ready yet. You've got, another preseason game after this week, and then you've got the bye week, and then the regular season. You've got time to fix these things and whatnot. Now, last week I had said going into Jacksonville, I want to see an offense that doesn't look clunky. And then I saw an offense that looked clunky. So, that's what I would like. I would like to see against the Eagles, both in the joint practices and in the preseason, just a little bit more efficiency from the offense. And I know a lot of starters didn't play on that line, and the receivers and Chubb and Hunt didn't play and that sort of thing. I just want to see some efficiency. I want to see guys that are out there trying to compete, which I don't think you'll have a problem with that. And I just want to see guys that have identified issues, see them start cleaning it up, right? If they're making mental errors, if they're making route running decisions like from the wide receivers, or if they have some drop concerns and things like that, I would like to see progress and just see guys competing. But overall, I just want to see, more than anything, I want to see a wide receiver not named Amari Cooper or Donovan Peoples-Jones make some plays, because right now that's where my biggest concern is on the offense.
It's going to be very interesting, especially in that division, to see where the Cleveland Browns go and end up in the standings. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to come on. And I hope to have you back on once the season gets going.
Absolutely, man. I'll come on anytime you need me.
Thank you.